time. Hi, my name is Keith, and I'm representing Malaysia. I'm an owner of three cafes in Kuala Lumpur, and I want to share them with you today using the three courses that I am about to serve you. Now, as I progress as a barista, we see a lot of improvement as an industry. New machine technique, varietal and fermentation process. Now, what doesn't really change is what kept me loving about coffee, and that's the connection. The best thing about being a barista is that it gives us time. Time to make a conversation, time to know friends and understand each other, and time to make a connection. And that connection can start from our farmers to barista, from barista among ourselves and baristas to customers. And today, that's going to lead us to the first cafe that I own. This is Transparent Coffee. Here, there's some photos and coffee information in the middle. Just have a look, and I'm going to start prepping our coffee. Okay? Thank you. Now, Transparent is where I would usually start my day. After dropping off my fiancée at work, I will always head here for a cup of coffee. In Transparent, our menu focuses on coffee that comes from the same farm, but with different varietal and processing. But that is a great thing because it allows us to go really in-depth about the terroir, fermentation, the varietal. Now, all these things that we care so much as a barista that will affect the final cup of coffee that you are about to taste. Now, this is a great thing because it allows us to start a conversation and to build that connection. And there's no any other coffee that I would love to represent Transparent Coffee other than an espresso, because espresso itself is straightforward. It's a reflection of that terroir. Now I'm prepping some shots for our signature drink, and I'll be using at the very last of my routine, okay? The coffee that I've chosen comes from La Papaya in Ecuador. Here is where John Pena experimented with coffee that comes from different lot and fermentation and different varietal, making this a great coffee to use in Transparent. Now, what I'm doing here is pouring 4 shots of espresso that I extracted into 30 grams of a Nepal black tea. And I'm pouring them into 30% of milk and 15% of lemon juice. Now, this is going to allow us to use a milk washing technique to clarify. And I'll be splitting them into 4 tubes and putting them into a centrifuge to spin. That will further curdle all the sediments. And it's gonna take about 5 to 6 minutes. Now we will get back to this ingredient at the very end of my presentation. And also there's another white tube inside the centrifuge, and that is a fresh cacao nibs that goes through it's a fresh cacao shrub that will go through the same milk washing process. I'll be explaining more of this at the very end of my presentation. Right now, let's dive back into the espresso course. Okay? For espresso, I'm choosing a coffee that consists Sidra Bourbon varietal. Now, Sidra Bourbon itself has an intense and complex acidity structure, and floral, a lot of stone fruits. By having this in mind, what John Pena did is that we put this coffee into a 168 hours of extended fermentation of anaerobic process. We control all the variable so that we feed just enough food for the bacteria to prolong the process, giving us the creamy texture that you are about to taste in our espresso course. Now let's talk about the taste balance first. Our espresso has a medium acidity and a medium sweetness. And for a coffee that's roasted just below 200 degrees Celsius, we would be expecting a low bitterness. And the tactile, that's coming from the anaerobic long fermentation process. It's going to give you creamy on the first sip and silky. On second sip, it's going to turn juicy and a long and clean finish. Now flavor. The first sip, look for pineapple and plum. On second sip, the fresh orange juice and a geranium finish. Please just stir 5 times, and the top left cup is for a U spoon. Thank you. There you go. Enjoy your espresso. I'll be right back. Thank you. Now, let's move on to the second cafe. One half coffee is where I took inspiration from competition. Here, we want to serve coffee that would push the limit of what specialty coffee could be, highlighting all these flavors that we barista love a lot. But at the same time, we need to keep our coffee approachable, delicious, and easy to understand by our regular customers. And what you are tasting later is a fruit of our connection. It's through feedback and trial and error, and serving what they love the most and what I want to serve. Now, please take down a few flavor notes for our milk coffee. You're going to be tasting salted caramel, butterscotch, and Taiwanese milk tea. The coffee varietal I'm using is a Majorado, coming from the same farm. Majorado itself has a complex acidity, so to make it more pronounced in our milk coffee, I extracted them with a higher dosing of 20.5 grams. There you go. Enjoy. And just 28 grams out for 2 cups. And combining with a milk that we practice in the shop is we have 3 types of milk in our chiller most of the time. One is a fresh milk, full cream. The next is a freeze distillation milk that has been reduced to 70% in intensity. The last is a slow reduction milk that we made by putting into an oven for 10 hours at 108 degrees Celsius to reduce to 10% volume. Now this in return will give us a milk that has a nutty character and an umami flavor. And today I'm using 5% of the slow reduction milk, 50% of the slow reduced, the freeze distilled milk, and 45% of a full cream fresh milk. Can I have a time check, please? There you go. Nice. Thanks. Time check, please. 10 minutes, 40 seconds. All right. Thank you. Now, you ready? Let's move on to the last course. Here is where I want to serve you a coffee wine. That's because when we first cup this coffee, all the minerality, salinity, stone fruit character is what we would expect from a murky orange wine. Now to do that, we have 4 key components. All this information is right in front of you. If you just have a look, it's going to get a little bit more complex here, so please follow through. Now, the first key ingredient is texture. It's a black tube that you see over here that consists of our espresso earlier with the sidra and the 30 grams of the Nepal black tea. Now, Nepal black tea, I'm using a cold brew method that steep 24 hours with 5% of tea leaf in a chiller. And that's going to give us a florality from the Nepal and a minerality to our drinks. And the next key component here is flavor. It's this white tube over here. This is a fresh cacao shrub that I made with 1 part of fresh cacao juice, 1 part of sugar, and 1 part of this unfiltered apple cider vinegar. And steep for 3 days at room temperature. Now the third key ingredient is the visual. Now this is important because we want our drinks to look as close as orange wine. Over here, we have the milk wash technique. The second stage is the centrifuge, and the third stage is the vaginal filter, going to filter the remaining of the sediments. And I'll be chilling the drink with an ice bath to control the dilution, okay? The last key ingredient is volatile aromatic. To bring back the volatile aromatic that we lost during the entire making process, over here, I'm putting 3 grams, which is 2 pump, of a green grape distillate. This is made using 1 part of grape, 10 part of water, and distillate for 300 ml of extraction. This will combine with our espresso flavor and give us a new experience later. Now, later when I pour you the wine, please don't drink first, as we're going to drink it together, okay? And the last cafe that I want to share with you is Dodo Bake. Here is where we serve things that we love: coffee, wine, pastries, and sourdough. This is where all of us, the baristas, will hang out and chill after our shift and talk about the things that we love. Talk about the shitty customers that we met throughout the day and try to understand each of us what we love in life. But that's important because who are we if we don't know the people that we are working closely? And so, I hope that through my presentation today, I'm able to remind all of us to stay connected and embrace the moment we spend. Just a little bit more, okay? Now, let's take a step away from coffee and drink wine. Now, if you could please lift the glass and give it a swirl and look for the texture. It's syrupy. And when you bring it close to your nose, look for bergamot and papaya. On your first sip, you're going to be getting the syrupy and the dry tannin texture coming from our espresso. Let's go. And the second sip, look for the flavors: kumquat, papaya, and Riesling. Let's go. Prune and bergamot. Enjoy. Cheers. Time.